Toronto Coach Terminal is in its final days here on the corner of Bay and Dundas Street West. And in front of me is the old tunnel that would take you underground Bay Street to the Toronto Coach Terminal. And it has since been boarded up. And right behind me is Atrium on the Bay, which is the underground path network here in Toronto. And I'm headed to have one last look at the coach terminal. The signs are still evident everywhere that this building that sits here at 610 Bay Street was once Canada's first intercity motor coach building. Opened up in 1931. It is an Art Deco building, 2 stories high, and when it opened, there were 5 bus platforms that eventually expanded to 9 bus platforms. And you can see the old name on the building, Grey Coach Lines. That was one of the first bus lines to operate out of this building. And when this building opened in 1931, it offered a waiting room that was enclosed because prior to this building opening here on Bay Street, this site was known as the Union Coach Terminal, an open air bus depot. And there are still some old photos on this building this week, January 11th. This building opened up. They had a waiting room. On the second level, they had restaurant and a bar. And the Greyhound bus terminal closed down here in 2021. The Greyhound bus line suffered during the 2020 pandemic and closed all of their operations in 2021. Let's have a look around this historic building that was in service for 90 years here at Bay and Edward Street, and some more vintage photos of the bus terminal. And this building was made of limestone. The photographs on this building right now are by Laurie Spring. So construction is now underway for this building, and they have prepped it for demolition. It does have heritage status, and it got heritage status back in 1987. There is a picture of a Toronto police officer or security guard, and there is the glass mural window. I cannot get inside. It is closed off to the public. And let's have a look around before this is all a pile of rubble here. And the new development for this site is going to be housing, affordable housing. There's a picture of an old Greyhound bus. It will also be a plaza. As well as a paramedics multi-hub. And these doors have seen many travelers through them. There is fencing surrounding where the bus platforms used to be. The building has a lot of wear and tear here. Let's see if we can have a peek inside of the old terminal there. And perhaps I could get a view from this angle inside of the old Toronto coach terminal here for 90 years. Now in its final days as a structure. You got the old signage there. Bus bay number 1 and number 2. And the large waiting room inside of the terminal. And in 1931, this building was highly anticipated because in the 1920s, when the motor coaches arrived in Toronto to transport people, they had to wait outside in the open air bus depot, so it was highly welcomed here in the city. The Mayor of Toronto bought the first ticket in the terminal, and the first trip was to Steeltown in Hamilton. So there is the new development potential there. They keep changing it because the city is dealing with a lot of developments canceling, but this one appears to be a go right now in 2026. There you have all of the construction equipment preparing for the demolition. And I'm just going to take a full walk around this iconic bus terminal in its final days before it is torn down. There was the Toronto Coach Terminal Dispatch Office up those stairs. There was the addition to the Toronto Coach Terminal, also going to be redeveloped here as well. The last time I was here, I was actually taking a bus to Niagara Falls, but all of the buses are now at the newer Union Bus Terminal on Front and Bay Street. And this was the pedestrian walkway taking you into the waiting room area. And there are some old lockers there. Can't see through this mesh. But on the right hand side, it appears as though there are some old lockers. Lots of falling apart there. And one last look on the southern side of this iconic building, the Toronto Coach Terminal, being redeveloped here. On Bay.